Hello, it's Coach Charlie with Attack Basketball Academy. Footwork is the foundation to all basketball skills, hands down. And if you don't develop great footwork, you can forget about excelling at those basketball skills. I want to help you develop into a premium basketball player. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to get better footwork in basketball. Let's jump right into it. In this video, I'm going to share with you the key to finding your feet. Then I'm going to show you the only 3 moves you need to know on offense to blow by every defender. Most of our players are blown away by the simplicity of these moves and how well they work. Last, I'm going to show you the 6 simple moves you need to know to dominate on both offense and defense. Let's get right into the key to finding your feet. See, the key to finding your feet is to understand how to turn on the court. And we typically call those turns pivots. Now, when we think about pivots, believe it or not, a lot of times I don't know if we really understand what we're talking about. Because if you think about it, the term itself, pivot, if you look it up, it's like a tool. A pivot's like a tool that swivels, it turns. So to keep it very simple, in basketball, in order to find your feet, you must learn how to turn on the court. And one of the turns you're constantly making all the time, especially in offense, is you're turning the corner. You're constantly trying to go by and blow by your defender. Believe it or not, those were pivot moves I did. We may not think of it that way, but I just actually did the same pivot, just different directions. See, that's why it's important. Because when they take away one thing, you got to learn how to use another move and understand to do those things with fluidity, meaning with ease, okay? Like my back is to the basket right now, all I simply did was just turn. But that's the pivot turn I'm going to talk about later, right? My back's to the basket, I made another turn. I got the same result, meaning that now I'm facing the basket, but I did it in 2 different motions. That's me finding my feet. I know exactly why I did what I did, not even thinking twice about it. See, that's the key to this thing. Once you understand how to find your feet, you're hard to be beat because you don't think about it. You understand how to optimally turn on the court. And for me to you, understanding the footwork, that simply means pivots. You're just swiveling, right? You're just turning on the court. Not only are you turning the corner, looking to go by a defender, sometimes you're going away from the basket, right? If I'm here and I'm going away from the basket, there's a certain way I need to turn, all according to how I'm being guarded. All according to how I'm being guarded. And you need to sense this information, right? You want to sense this. As I'm explaining, going away, just moving, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing. That's the key to me. It's like a win-to-win concept. What I mean by win-to-win, if you want a W-I-N, win only simply means gain an advantage. You need to know when, W-H-E-N, when to make these moves. That's the key. So then now let's talk about why footwork is important and why it leads to other skills in basketball. First, let's talk about one of the top skills in basketball, shooting, right? It helps you to find your feet because now you understand how to stagger, how to step into your shooting. Layups, the same concepts, how to go into a 1-2 process or a 2-foot hop before you stop, land off 2 feet, go up, right? It helps you understand how to move on defense. If you to see my feet, right, the movements, let me back up a little bit. The movements I'm making on defense, this is all footwork related. And believe it or not, this is a pivot, right? This is a pivot, and it's one of the three pivots I'm going to show you, and it's also a part of the 6 pivots I'm going to share with you also, right? No matter what I'm doing, I'm on defense, I get beat. Guess what? I can pivot turn to catch up, right? Lateral movement, right? These are all lateral movements, push steps. It all derives around footwork. To me, footwork is the key. Footwork leads the dribble. That's why I said before, once you find your feet, you're going to be hard to be beat because you understand how to play and play at a high level. Before I show you the only 3 moves you need to know on offense to blow by every defender, I want to remind you to subscribe to this channel. I'm putting out videos daily to help develop you into a premium basketball player. Don't miss out on the content. Click the subscribe button. Now I'm going to show you the only 3 moves you need to know on offense to blow by every defender. Okay, the chair represents a defender's body. And anytime you use a chair, cones, those are what we call disruptors in basketball. It's training. I know a lot of people frown upon using cones and chairs. Well, the chair's not real, the cone's not real. When you're by yourself and you have an imagination, you want to put yourself in the best possible situation that you can imagine someone being in front of you. So when you're making these moves, they can actually be simulated in a real game. So turning my back to you, this is the left side of someone's body. This is the right side of somebody's body. This chair is directly in front of me. Let me give you the only 3 moves you need to master in basketball. The first move is called direct step. A direct step means whatever side the ball is on, you're going to step directly by your defender. That's it. Because the name of the game, let's imagine this is their waist. Let's say their shoulders are about right here. The name of the game in basketball is to get shoulder to shoulder with your opponent to blow by them. So the first move you want to know, to understand, to get by any defender anytime is a direct step. That's simple, right? You have the ball, you directly step. And when you blow by them, here's the key. You don't dribble where they're at. You dribble the ball beyond their body. You go beyond their body. Look at where I'm at already, right? We call this a split foot action. I'm not going to stay here because what's going to happen after I actually stepped and dribble, my second step is going to create separation. That's a simple direct step. Whether I had to distract this player to do it, with an in and out dribble, I faked to my left and I went right, I got directly by that person. Whether I did it with a change of direction, it's a direct step. Okay? The first move I want you to understand is a direct step. The second move is called a cross step. For training purposes, I'm going to go the same way, going to the right. A cross step is also called a step through. I like to call it a cross step. People call it different things. I'm very consistent at the content, the words I use with my players and also when I train. Here's a cross step. Now, I don't step directly with my right foot. I actually step with my left foot. So my right foot is my pivot foot, the foot that I can lift, swivel if I need to, but I can only lift up my heel, my toe needs to stay on the ground, but the drive step foot creates the action. This is a cross step. Same motion as you see, I am shoulder to shoulder. That's the key. The ball's beyond my defender's body where it needs to be as well. That's the second way you need to understand how to blow by any defender. You got a direct step, you got a cross step. Right? You got a direct step, you got a cross step. All those results got me shoulder to shoulder. And the third move you need to master on offense to get by any defender, to literally blow by them, is a drop step. I call it an away move. See, now when they get very tight to you and they take away your direct step, and you're now going with that second step that could be deemed a cross step, this is when you take the inside foot, let's say they're farther ahead, you plant that inside foot, and you go directly away from them. Look at where I'm located. Now, if I'm going to do this with the dribble, and I'm going to take this chair with me, okay? I'm going to do this with the dribble, take the chair with me. I went with the direct step. The chair stayed with me. Here I come. Notice my inside foot stepped. Now that's my cross step. I'm only picking the ball up to show you the motion because when I do it again, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep my dribble. right? So my coaches out there don't call me for carrying, right? Because it's not about me holding this ball. I want to show you. But once I have this defender, this is the win part, W-H-E-N to W-I-N, gain the advantage. Once this defender is very tight, and I got them trying to take away my direct step or cross step, that's now when I do a drop step. And a drop step is a direct back step. Back to a what? Direct step forward. Here it is. Watch it. Watch it. Keeping my dribble, not traveling, not carrying. I'm back into a direct step mode. Look at where I'm at. Look at where my defender's at. You master these three simple moves. Direct step, cross step, drop step, I call a waist step. When do you do a direct step? When your defender is in front of you and you have the advantage to just blow by them. Their chest is not in front of you, as you notice. See, here it is, the chest is here. I can't go through them. I need to go around them and blast by them, right? One way I do a cross step. A lot of cross steps happen after change of directions. If you really want to understand how to do a cross step, they typically happen after a change of direction. And why? Because the weight of your body is actually leaning to the way that ball is going. And the only foot that you can really put in action, hence the drive step foot, is the foot that's close to the defender. Right? So naturally speaking, when you make these moves, you stay progressive. You stay dynamic. That's a cross step. I can also just rip right into it if I want to as well. Right? And then lastly, I got my spin move, which I call my waist step, was the drop step. The defender's very tight. They're trying to take away all my direct step, cross steps. I go away from them. Those are the three moves you need to understand to blow by every defender on offense every time. The key to consistency to me is simplicity. If you keep it this simple, watch how your game excels with your footwork. Now that you know how to prove your footwork on offense with the three ways to get by any defender anytime by blasting by them, I want you to comment below with the one that's your favorite. Is it direct step? Is it the direct step? Is it the cross step? Or is it the drop step I also call the waist step? Right? Give me an example of one of the names that you love. Right? Go ahead. Let me know in the comment section below. Now I'm going to show you the 6 simple footwork moves you need to know to dominate on both offense and defense. And they are the only ways you are moving on the court when it comes to footwork. Let's talk about offense first. There's 3 pivots. And 3 pivots have 3 counters. A counter is simply something that comes next. So when they take away your actual pivot, there's a pairing. Now, some can debate. You do A, you go right into B. But once you find your feet, you choose that. I just want to share with you. Here we go. The first pivot in basketball you need to master is called a front pivot. Some people call it forward pivot. Some people call it outside pivot. I like to call it outside. I'm giving you every term that you can probably hear from a coach, trainer, or someone, okay? But it's simply speaking, it's just me turning to the basket. My pivot foot in this case is my left foot. That's the foot I can lift up my heels and I can swivel, I can turn. My drive step foot is my right foot. That's the foot that creates the action. And with an outside pivot, that's what I call it. Again, it's a forward pivot to a front pivot. The outside foot goes over the inside. Hence, it's an outside pivot. It's a forward front motion pivot. Okay? Whichever way I decide to do it, Learning to become ambidextrous is the key, right? That's an outside pivot. I call it outside. Again, some people call it forward, some people call it front. I'm always asking players what's easier, and then whatever's easier for the whole group, I call it that. The opposite of outside is what? Inside. Thank you. Opposite of forward is what? Backward. People also say reverse or inside. So now, the second pivot to master is the inside pivot, right? The inside pivot. Now, my pivot foot still stays on the ground. Heel can raise up. My drive step foot that creates the action, it goes under my pivot foot. It goes under my pivot foot, right? This was Scottie Pippen's go-to move. A lot of us call this the Scottie Pippen. It was a reverse pivot, we called it at the time. Catch it, turn back into a defender and really rip and go to the basket, right? Notice my ease of use when I do this both ways. Again, it pays to pay attention to find your feet because you won't get beat, all right? So you have, again, outside pivot we call front. We call it forward, okay? You have now the inside pivot we also call reverse or back, all right? The third pivot. Third pivot is a non-negotiable. It's a drop step. It's a drop step. Me turning to the side showing you a drop step is nothing more than what I showed you before. It's a direct back step. It's a direct back step towards my target. Then I go into a front motion pivot. Okay? It's a direct back step. That's all the drop step is. We typically understand drop steps from the low post to medium post, right? For me, when you're working on one thing, you're working on all things. That's why I'm also going to include defense into this. So, yes, we can work on our drop step in the post area, but how about when I'm on the perimeter? I can work on that same drop step. We talked about winning, W-H-E-N-N-I-N-G, my word I came up with, right? When to make a move, right? To create an advantage to win, W-I-N. When I'm going away from the basket and a defender is tight to me on my right hip and shoulder, I can drop step away from them to the basket. That wasn't a pivot move, right? I mean, that was not a low post pivot move, I should say. That's just a play I made on the court, right? I don't have to square up to waste time, let them catch up, right? So those are the three pivots. My words I like to use are outside, inside, and drop, to keep it very simple. When they take away your pivot, you want to immediately execute your counter. So, the order, in a sense. When my outside pivot is taken away, meaning the defender's in front of me, I want to go into the counter. The counter to the outside pivot is the cross step. That's simple. When they take away my outside pivot, I want to cross step. Okay? The counter again to the outside pivot, my words, is a cross step. Second, when you go with an inside pivot, when you inside pivot, and let's say I happen to do this where the defender's in front of me, you want to go in the same direction, and this is a direct step. So it's also called a sweep. But for me, the counter to the inside pivot is a direct step against what's coming next, right? 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay? Last, the counter to the drop step is the inside pivot. Imagine this defender being very tight on me where I can't move them, right? I can't move them to go into an inside pivot. They're just too close. So all I'm going to simply do is take my drive step foot, my right foot, and turn inward, hence inside pivot. I can do it both ways. I want to go to my right. I can't. I feel the pressure. It's very tight. That's the win part. I'm emotionally engaged. I feel the pressure. Inside pivot, I created what? Space. That's the whole purpose of pivoting and countering. Pivots are attacks. You want to play with immediacy, right? You want to play with a sense of importance and urgency to go make that play with your footwork. But when that pivot attack is taken away, you want to counter it. Well, what comes next? And the key to this stuff is working on it so you don't think twice about it, right? You don't want to think about this. You just want to keep your mind on the game and play. Boom. Right? Now, needless to say, you can also mix up pivots in a sense. Who say I can't turn with an inside pivot and go back to a cross step? Because if the defender takes away my inside pivot, it makes no sense to go that way. Go opposite of it. Right? Who's to say when I come with a outside pivot, I can't go into a direct step? I can. Right? I'm going to take what the defense gives me at the end of the day. But if you keep this in mind, offensively speaking, there's only 3 pivots and there's only 3 counters. Outside pivot, inside pivot, drop step. Those are the attacks. Those are the pivots. The counter to the outside pivot is a cross step. The counter to the inside pivot is a direct step. The counter to the drop step is an inside pivot. You master those. You also master understanding briefly on defense. Because check it out. This is a drop step. This chair now has the ball trying to go to their right. I'm a drop step, pick up, push step with them, and take them into a bad shot with my left foot. This is a drop step. This chair really beats me. I'm really beat from behind. I'm an outside pivot to catch up, to get back in front of them. What kind of pivot was that? Back to an outside pivot. This stuff is on repeat. I know we call it different things because on the perimeter we call it one thing. On the low post we call it one thing. At the mid post we call it. This is all the same. This is a game of footwork. And again, once you understand to excel at footwork and finding your feet, you're going to be hard to be beat. Because you're going to know how to turn every which way on this court, on offense and defense. You're going to know how to manipulate your defender by faking them out, by getting open easily. And then, most importantly, you're going to lead to giving you opportunity to score more points on offense. Now that you know how to get better footwork in basketball, how would you like to have a guide that covers all the must-know basketball principles and in what situation to apply them? Well, you are in luck. If you click on the link in the description of this video below, you can download the guide I put together as my gift to you. Enjoy it, find your feet, be hard to be beat, and keep attacking.